Alright, Everything Mathematics is here again, and today we are continuing our series on number theory. And yesterday we've been continuing also on what we started yesterday with the number line. In the number line yesterday, I showed you basically how we can compute simple numbers if given two simple numbers, two small integers. I showed you how we could use a number line to solve such a question. But today the focus will be if we have bigger number. So what is our objective today? We are going to be able to compute positive and negative integers by applying the rules. And as I just said, when dealing with bigger numbers. With smaller numbers, of course, you can always busily draw a number line and then move left, move right and get your results. But that is not always practical if dealing with a bigger number. As in the last example I gave, negative 1,000 plus 300. You can't go and draw that number line. You wouldn't have time. The exam would finish, the test would finish, class will done. So, with the rules that we are going to look at today, if you master these rules, man, I'm telling you, you will never have a problem again adding and subtracting negative or positive integers. Well, you should never. So, let's look at those rules. Rule number one, whenever you're computing two integers, if the signs are the same, meaning that if you have a positive and a positive, so the signs are the same. Hold on, let me change this color to, okay, let me use red. So let me say you have 8 plus 6. Good? The signs are the same. So plus 8 plus 6. But remember, if this one is in front here, there is no need to put it. So 8 is positive, 6 is positive. What the rule is saying here, if the signs are the same, you add the numbers and then you keep the sign. You keep the sign, you add the numbers. So 8 is positive, 6 is positive. That means the signs are the same. Condition checked. So what do? I add the numbers. 8 plus 6 I know is 14. And that 14 is also positive. But again, there's no need to put a positive sign there. That there is understood. Good? That's the easier one to see. But the trickier one is this, and I will give you two. What if I have negative 8 minus, let me change the number to 5, so we will get the same result, the same face value result. Negative 8, negative 5. The rule here applies. Same thing. So here are the rules. If the signs are the same, these two signs are the same. This 8 is negative, this 5 is negative. What does the rule say? Add the numbers and keep the sign. So 8 is negative, 5 is negative. 8 plus 5, I add the numbers. So that will give me 13, and then I keep the sign. In the case of a negative number, you have to put the negative sign. Because if you don't put this negative sign here, what you're really saying is that the 13 is positive. Yes? So for the negatives, you must put the sign. Keep the sign negative. For the positive, there is no need to put the sign because, as I said in the previous video, the positive sign is understood. So there's no need to put it when it's not necessary. When it's not there, we know it's there. Good? So if I have 3 just like that, I know it's positive. However, if I have 3 like this, then I know it's negative. There's no need to put positive 3. There's no need. Some people do, but I'm telling you, you don't have to. You don't must, right? So that's rule number 1. And rule number 2 is my favorite one because this one you really have to commit to memory to understand how this thing works. But rule number 2, this is where we have the different signs. So if the signs are different, if there is a disparity in the signs, so we have a positive, we have a negative, or we have a negative and we have a positive, what does the rule say? Subtract the smaller number from the larger number, but you keep the sign of the larger number. It might sound confusing, but we're going to do an example. Remember, this is to substitute your number line because this could work with, it doesn't matter how large the number is. You could easily apply these rules without going and draw a too long number line. Some person might settle for that, but again, I'm telling you, it will be time consuming. Knowing the rule is a walk in the park. And I repeat, number 2, if the signs are the same, you subtract the smaller from the larger number and you keep the sign of the larger number. Let's put that into perspective. So, different signs. So now we have minus 8 and we have plus 5. Look at what's going on there now. Different signs. One is negative, the 8 is negative, the 5 is positive. What does the rule say? If the signs are different, subtract the smaller number from the bigger number. So let me do that first. If I subtract, because the signs are different, we know that one is negative, one is positive. So according to the rule, subtract the smaller number from the bigger number. If I do that, I will end up with 3. If I take away 5 from 8, I will end up with 3. But let me see what happens with the sign now. Then, after you do that, you keep the sign. You keep the sign of the larger number. And the larger number here, let me be very careful. The larger number here is in terms of face value. And the next video will be addressing face value. Maybe we should have done face value first. But the face value is what a number has on itself. It has nothing to do with the sign. It's just the face value. So in actuality, the larger number here is 5. In actuality, positive 5 is greater than negative 8. But in terms of face value, 8 is the larger number. The number 8 is the larger number in terms of the face value. And this is what we're looking at here when we look at the larger number. The face value of the number and not the sign. Because if you look at the sign, then some person might keep the 3 positive. Because in reality, 5 indeed is a greater than negative 8. I hope I'm making sense here and I hope I'm not confusing my audience. But yes, so in this case, we have to make that 3 negative. Because the larger number in terms of face value again is an 8. The 8 is the larger face value than the 5. So again, different signs, take away the smaller from the larger and you keep the sign of the larger number. Let us do another quick example. And I will use a bigger number, a number where you could see that the number line just wouldn't make sense. You wouldn't go there. Don't go there. So supposing we have minus 80 plus, let me change it because the pattern here is the same. The pattern here is the same. So let me change this. So supposing I have, let me put 80 instead, minus 120. Yes, let me look at it this way. You won't, when I mean to say you won't, some persons might be crazy enough to be sure they go draw this number line, but believe me, if you do that, by the time you're done and then you start counting 80 places to the right or 120 places to the left, oh my goodness, I don't think you have no exam that will suffice enough time for you to do that, unless you're Speedy Gonzalez with your writing skills. Right, so here we have a scenario again, but again, let's look at the conditions. The 80 here is positive. The 120 is negative. So this draw grounds for condition number 2. If the signs are different, what do we say we do? We subtract the smaller number from the larger number and then we keep the sign of the larger number. And again, that is in terms of face value. I should have really write out that. I should have spelled it out in case you cannot hear and you're just looking at the videos. But anyways, that's cool. Right, so we have 80 minus 80. 80 minus 20. The larger number is 120 and the smaller number is 80. And the signs are different. So what the rules say, take away the smaller from the larger. If I do that, I will end up with 40. And to wrap it up, I keep the sign of the larger number, which is negative. 120 is larger than 80 in terms of face value. So my answer will be negative 40. And people, that's as easy as the 2 rules goes. So if the signs are the same, add the numbers and keep the sign. So if you have a negative and a negative, just add the numbers. If you have a positive and a positive, add the numbers, keep the sign. However, if the signs are different, you take away the smaller number from the bigger number and then you keep the sign of the bigger number in respect to face value. So let's see if we could do some examples now. Let's see if we could do some examples and that should wrap up our day for today. Right, so here we have 6 different examples at all levels, pretty much, so that will make our life easy. So 3 minus 2, that's kindergarten. 3 minus 2, we know that is 1. So I want many up here. Minus 2 plus 3, and let us apply the rule. The signs are different. So according to the rule, the signs are different. What does the rule say? Take away the smaller from the bigger and you keep the sign of the bigger one. So this is the same as the first one. So the answer here is still 1. Good. Take away the smaller from the bigger one. So that will be 3 minus 2. That will give me 1. And then I keep the sign of the bigger number. The bigger one number is 3. So that 1 there will be positive. Good. Basically, that's what happened there, right? Moving on. 29, negative 29 plus 10. Negative 29 plus 10. Different signs. 29 is negative. The 10 is positive. So what does the rule say? Take away the smaller from the bigger, keep the sign of the bigger. So if I take away 10 from 29, I will end up with 19. Math arithmetic. And then I keep the sign of the bigger number, and the bigger number in terms of face value here is 19. It's 29. So my answer should be negative 19. Hope I'm making sense. 24 minus 30. 24 is positive, negative 30. 30 is negative. So it's a positive and a negative. Positive and a negative. So how do I handle that again? Different signs. Take away the smaller number from the bigger number, but then I keep the sign of the bigger number in respect to the face value. So if I take away 24 from 30, I will end up with 6. And is the 6 positive or negative? It will be negative because the 30 is the larger face value and the 30 is negative. So that will be negative 6. Easy does it. The next one, number 5, we have a negative and a negative. So here the signs are the same. What does the rule say when the signs are the same? You add the numbers, you keep the sign. So 12 plus 14, that will be 26. And the sign is negative, so I keep the negative sign. So my answer is negative 26. Here we have 3, positive 3, and negative 99. A positive and a negative, there is different signs. What does the rule say? Take away the smaller number from the bigger number, that will give me 96. And I keep the sign of the bigger number, and the bigger number here would be 99, face value. So my answer here should be negative 96. So again, that is as straightforward as that concept go. And that should bring us to the end of today's video. So again, as always, feel free to go through it again, go through it slowly, or feel free to leave a question in the comment section if you're not too sure as to what I did or you don't understand, or contact me on any of the platforms, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter. You could find my contacts in that very first introduction video, and from there we could also do more extensive practice if you need any further clarification. So until then, again, as always, like, share, subscribe it with your friends, share with your friends, subscribe so that you could get upcoming videos daily. I do it from Monday to Friday, and we will learn mathematics together. Until then, you take care. God bless.